Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today's story is a very disturbing one out of Washington State. We have a female wrestler who's come forward and alleged that she was assaulted during a wrestling match. A video of the match is online. It was released by Brandy Cruz, who broke this story. And she says that the female wrestler, Callie Keeler, was unaware that she was competing against a boy. The 16-year-old high school student signs up for a wrestling match, a girls' wrestling match, sees her opponent, begins wrestling, and immediately knows that something is wrong. When you see the video, even when you see the photos of this match, she looks absolutely horrified from the onset. Now, some people are saying this is a difficult one because obviously wrestling is very physical, you grab each other. And even more disturbing details that come out about this story is the response of the school, which was to not report it for a whole 2 months, despite her reporting it to her coach and then her parents sending an email a couple of days later. Callie didn't find out that she was competing against a boy until after the match. But she said even when she thought she was competing against a girl, it made no difference to her feeling violated. The fact that she found out that she was competing against a boy obviously makes it that much more disturbing. And it raises the questions as to why these schools are refusing to protect girls. Why are they refusing to protect their female athletes? As soon as somebody identifies as trans, they can do no wrong, and they know it. These males who decide to identify as trans, they know that they can use that as a shield, and the school will bend over backwards to protect them while ignoring reports from girls who allege that they have been assaulted. So Callie Keeler is a 16-year-old sophomore at Rogers High School in Puyallup. She says the incident occurred during a December 6 girls wrestling match against Emerald Ridge High School in the 190-pound weight class. Now I'll leave you to read what Brandy Cruz wrote here. But this 16-year-old girl is alleging that she was SA'd, that the actions of this individual were not within the usual typical realms of wrestling. It went beyond that. It was a violation. She has been wrestling for a long time. Even though she's only 16, she's been wrestling from a young age. And she says that she has not experienced this before. Even when she thought that the opponent was a female, she was deeply alarmed by this person's actions. So Callie said, "That has never happened out of all the years I've wrestled." Callie said she immediately knew something was wrong. And you can see that from the video. The video is on X. You can find it on Brandy Cruz's account. I will post it on my account as well. Now, people are saying that they can't really tell much from the video itself. You do see the person reach in between her legs. However, because it's wrestling, somebody could easily say that they were just wrestling. But my thing is that we need to start listening to the female athletes. We need to start listening to the girls and take what they say seriously. But what did the school do? The school didn't even report it, despite the fact that reporting these incidents is mandatory under Washington state law, regardless of whether they believe it's substantiated or not. It's compulsory that it is reported when there's any question of a child being abused, when there's any question of SA occurring. So Callie said, "I was just kind of like, what? What the heck? I didn't really know what to do or how to handle that situation. I just wanted the match to be over." And she said she allowed herself to be pinned so that they could end the match. "I didn't really know what to think of it. It's a women's wrestling team, so I wasn't really thinking that." She believed her opponent was female and she was not informed ahead of time that the wrestler was biologically male. And Callie said, in no uncertain terms, that she would have reported the touching regardless of her opponent's sex. And the first person she told was her mother. While the video was playing, her mother can be heard questioning why her daughter's making that face, because she could tell that something isn't quite right here. "I told her how uncomfortable the match made me feel. She said she was looking into it." So 2 days later, Callie's parents emailed Rogers High School coaches seeking action. Part of the letter says, This is a huge issue and something that is 100% not okay. The fact that this was done by a biological male who identifies as a female is an even bigger issue for me. Where do we go from here? In a December 8 email, Callie's coach responded, "I most certainly would not have put Callie on that mat if I thought she was competing with a male." So even the coach is asserting that he didn't know this person is male. I will investigate this and look to see if we have a video on our end. I will touch base with you either this afternoon or tomorrow morning after I do my due diligence. And then what happened? Tomorrow morning or later on that afternoon? Absolutely nothing. They never heard back. And again, under Washington law, employees are mandatory reporters and they are required to report suspected SA or child abuse, including allegations involving other students, regardless of whether the allegation is ultimately substantiated. Despite multiple district employees being aware of Callie's claims, the incident was not reported to law enforcement until late January. It was only after Undivided, this publication, contacted the Puyallup School District that they reported it to the sheriff the following day. Only after the press got involved did they decide to now report it to law enforcement. The school district said the matter is currently under investigation. As such, the district is legally required to protect the privacy of students and families and cannot share details regarding individual students or specific incidents. What we can say is that student safety is a top priority and that all reports involving student safety are taken seriously. Student safety is so important, you didn't even inform your female athletes that they were going to be competing against a man. Didn't even give them the option to protect themselves. Student safety is so important. When a female athlete comes to you alleging that she has been violated by a male opponent, they keep quiet and don't say anything until the press get involved. And then the Pierce County Sheriff's Office, they have confirmed a criminal investigation saying this incident allegedly happened during the match between the victim and a transgender student the victim was wrestling at the time. This is being investigated and is still active. And I hope this investigation is thorough, that the truth comes out, to ensure that any predator who wants to hide behind a trans identity to prey on women is exposed, convicted, and receives the penalty that is appropriate to the fullest extent of the law. So the school where this male athlete attends has had girls come forward and say that they are very uncomfortable with this particular person being in the locker room with them, as well as one other male athlete who's been allowed to be in the girls' locker room. At least a dozen female athletes at Emerald Ridge High School have come forward with complaints. According to that reporting, the girls brought their concerns to the school's principal and vice principal. They said the boys were watching them undress in the locker room, and it made them uncomfortable. But the girls said they were brushed aside. Callie said, "That was when I realized that more girls than just me were being hurt." Outkick reports that 2 independent wrestling experts who reviewed the video of the match told Undivided there was no legitimate reason for Keela's opponent to place his arm between her legs during that sequence. That's not common unless you're doing it intentionally, a female wrestling coach said. Another coach, with nearly 4 decades of experience, said such contact, if accidental, would be brief and immediately corrected. No female athlete should be put through this, just so somebody's trans identity can be affirmed. Female athletes shouldn't be left unprotected and tricked into competing against boys just to appease somebody's gender identity. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be giving predators access to these female athletes, access to girls in the locker room. That is unforgivable. That is not what schools should be doing. Schools should be protecting all students and making sure everybody is in their rightful place based on biological sex. And the states that are allowing this are complicit in crimes against women and girls and against children. Can you imagine your daughter being tricked into wrestling a boy, then that boy grabs her vagina? Stop doing this to girls. A sobering reminder that the fight for women's fairness, safety and dignity is far from over. We cannot rest until every state acknowledges reality and protects women. Girls join boys wrestling at my kids' school willingly and with knowledge of who they're signing up to wrestle. Exactly. And stop being obtuse. It's degrading and makes you sound idiotic. This was not a co-ed wrestling match. And as she said, even if she was wrestling a woman, she still would have reported it. Because as somebody who knows what wrestling is, she knew that that was not a normal move. That was not a necessary move. And it wasn't something that was quickly corrected. And it's about time these schools start listening to the girls, start listening to the victims that they have let down, the victims who became victims because of the reckless policies that these schools have in allowing boys into girls' sports, into girls' locker rooms. These are the schools that claim to be following state law, that use that as a shield for any criticism, for any liability for their reckless policies. But when it comes to reporting these incidents, which is mandatory under state law, suddenly they're not following the law anymore. And I can't think of any state law that says that schools should turn a blind eye to allegations of sexual assault. So I commend Callie for coming forward with this. It's very, very brave indeed, and it's a wake-up call for all of us to know that this fight is far from over. Just when you think we've turned a corner, we hear horrific stories like this. Washington State, I mean, I have no words for what this state is allowing to be done to their women and girls, to children. It is despicable, it really is. It needs to stop. Enough of this. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.